Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm glad you stayed with us because we're going to be talking with a gentleman who has been on the show before, and I love talking to him then because he had a lot of wonderful information, and I know he's going to wow us again with some good information. Welcome, if you would, Todd Keithley. You are the Division Chief of Emergency Operations for the Gresham Fire and Emergency Services.
Correct.
Right? Thanks for being here again.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. Now, last time you were on, you talked about the Pulse Point app and a couple other things, and I thought that was fascinating. But there's another thing that we just didn't have time to talk about, which is why I invited you back again, and that's the CARES team. Could you tell me what that stands for and what this is? I know it's a partnership. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, CARES is an acronym for Community Assistance Resources, and it is a program. We've partnered with Oregon Health Sciences University, and we have nursing students that are working with us to address some of the need that we see out in the public with the services that we provide. Many of them elderly. And unfortunately, the 911 system, we are an emergency response service, and we see need, but we really don't have an opportunity to address it. So when we receive or deal with callers that call frequently, we
I bet you have a lot of those, don't you?
We do, and it's not that they're calling because they have need. If you live alone and you fall, you don't have any other method of getting care or receiving care, so you call 911. What we've been able to do is look at some of the people that are using 911 frequently, and then referring them to the CARES program, and then they have a nurse that comes into their home and kind of evaluates what their situation is and why they're calling 911 on a frequent basis. Okay,
so if I understand correctly, then there are a lot of people that call 911 who that's the only way they can get help, yet it's not really a life or death situation at that point anyway.
Correct.
So there may be a better, more efficient way to deal with a problem than having the whole fire truck, and the department go out there.
And when we get there, we're addressing the issue, but we're really kind of addressing a symptom of the issue.
So it's kind of a Band-Aid on the problem.
It's a Band-Aid on the problem, and we ran 16,000 calls last year. 72% of those were medical in nature. 50% of that 72% were non-emergent or low acuity calls.
Wow.
Calls that and again, we don't hesitate to go out and help people in the public, but they would not meet the definition of an emergency call. So we can get them in contact with a CARES provider that can go into the home and look at their situation. 64% of the issues that we saw were mobility issues. Either they weren't able to keep their home up because of their age and their elderly, falls, and so we would go respond to a fall. We would transport them if need be, and it might be 24 or 48 hours later we're back at that home again for the same type of situation.
So some of the solutions to that might be they don't have a walker, maybe they need a walker, or maybe they've got rugs all over that they're tripping up on, or maybe they need a ramp to their those kind of things.
Yeah,
or somebody to check on them regularly too.
Someone to check on them. They might need grab rails in specific locations in their home.
The bathtub and the
absolutely. They might have a very cluttered home, and again, they just don't have the ability to keep their pathways open. We've seen a number of different issues, and the nice thing about the CARES provider is that they can look at the whole situation. When you call 911 and you're transported to an emergency room, they're dealing with the reason why you came to the emergency room.
Right. You don't have time.
They don't have time, and when we want to get them back to a healthcare provider, to their primary care physician, so that your primary care physician's looking at you and your entire health history, and the results are usually better when you go through that system.
I'm sure. So it sounds like a true partnership in the sense that the nursing students are getting as much out of it as
they really
as
are.
The fire department and the community is getting out of it.
Well, when I first heard about the program, I thought, how effective is it really going to be? And now that I've seen it and what it's done, we have people that, because of need, they call 911 as many as 30 times a month.
Wow.
One person, 30 times a month, that's 360 calls a year that we're taking out of the system because we're getting them in contact with a cares provider, and the cares provider is able to work through. And there's other issues, the medications that don't work together, or they go to the ER, they're given a prescription, they don't even have the ability to go get that prescription.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a perpetual issue, and so we want to, instead of addressing a symptom of a problem, we want to find out what the problem is and get that resolved.
That's great. Now, I'm thinking that all those people that are calling 911, if you're responding to that, that means somebody else is not getting a response,
Exactly.
or it's going to be delayed, right?
Yes, right. And that's when, you know, what we don't want is we don't want to have one of our resources on a non-emergent call and then have a call of a serious nature, a true emergency come in. And now we're depending on other areas to respond to that area, and we have a decreased response time. And we used to be able to meet the needs of the non-emergent, but with our run volume climbing like it is, 143,000 people, I believe, in Gresham now, our run volume is such that we don't want to be responding to a non-emergent call and get calls for a true need.
Yeah. What about mental health issues?
Mental health, substance abuse, elderly, there's a number of things that we see. And again, we are an emergency response type of industry, and it's very difficult for us to peel away the layers of the onion, if you will, and get down to the true issues. And that's where the nurses through the CARES program, or the student nurses, are able to go in and really show some compassion for them, show them what services are available to them, what resources are available to them, aging and disability services. We've also found some situations of abuse where we've been able to look at the care provider and the care that they were receiving, and it wasn't appropriate care.
Wow, I didn't think about that. And so they're reporters then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
On those kind of situations.
Yeah, they come back to us with their findings. And the other issue for us is about 19% of our firefighter injuries are non-fire events.
Really?
And so I can tell you I've had multiple back surgeries, and it was as a result of working on a very large person in a medical setting, and you know, it has an impact on our budget and the injuries to our people. So we're really trying to look at this from all angles, and the CARES program is really a great program.
It's obviously something that would affect the whole community. I mean, that trickle-down effect from, you know, the fact that you wouldn't get here when you're needed because you're over here, or your budget, you know, people have to pay for the taxes to cover a lot of that. So
it's impacting us financially in a good way. Using the healthcare system, you know, accessing healthcare through the 911 system is not a very cost-effective way of doing business, and so we're decreasing the healthcare costs. We're also decreasing our costs, the cost of fuel, the cost of responding, and some of our stations are getting up above 3,000 runs a year, and that's getting to be pretty busy. Wow.
So is this only in Gresham? Is this like a pilot program, or?
It's a pilot program in Gresham, but we've also read about it in other areas. GEMS is a medical magazine that is published and that we read in the fire service, and we've had articles in GEMS about this program. I know that I've read articles about Los Angeles, several other agencies that are doing the same thing. We're really, the run volumes are getting to a point where we're realizing 911 was designed for a 4 to 6 minute response time, and it was developed for emergencies. The public need is so great today that the 911 system is now being used. And again, it's not that people are abusing it, they literally don't have the ability to do anything other than that.
Right.
So
what about something like 211?
You know, we're looking at the 911 system right now. We're looking at the services that we provide to the community, and we're reevaluating everything. We talked about the QRV, the rescue that we've implemented. We're looking at our services and saying, where do we need to look at things differently? What can we do to fix some of the issues that we're seeing and decrease our response and the cost to the public?
Right. And things that are just going to get worse as we get more and more people.
They're going to get, yes.
That's tough. The students in the nursing program at OHSU, are they required to participate in this as part of their training, or is this an optional thing?
I think it's an optional. It's a voluntary program, but the nurses, the students that we've had involved in the program, absolutely love it. We have briefings about every 30 days, and they bring us up to speed on the number of people that they've seen. I think to date we've had 117 referrals. They've made 67 home visits. And again, when I first heard of the program, I thought, is it really going to make a difference? And I have to tell you that it has. It's really, they have, you know, for many of the elderly patients they see, they now have an advocate for them to help them manipulate through the medical system, and they're not calling 911.
So if say, you know, I was in my home alone and I was one of those people that called all the time, and yet now I've had somebody come and kind of assess my situation, can I contact them directly?
What they do is they get them again with their primary care physician, and make sure that the relationship between them and their health care provider, someone that's checking on them on an ongoing basis, that relationship's good. And you know, they come in, they're in the program for a while, and then they move on through back into their nursing program.
Of course, that makes sense. Yeah, they're not going to be there forever. Students are they? Hopefully they'll.
But one of the things they do is to get them the resources, the number, the access, and the information they need, so that again they're making calls to those people as opposed to dialing 911.
Yeah. There are a lot of resources out there for people, but not everybody knows how to find them. I mean, I've learned a lot just on this show about, you know, oh, there's an organization that will build a ramp to your house.
Absolutely.
You know, that kind of thing, or you know, organizations that, you know, the elders in action who can do some advocacy work, those kind of things.
Yeah. The aging and disability services, they'll do the grab rails, and a lot of these things are done for free. And
so that it's not necessarily something that they're going to be charged a bunch of money. Nobody's trying to make money off of them. It's,
and they're still in charge of their own care. We're just giving them resources and ideas for fixing the problem. And again, we don't want to keep dealing with the symptom, because we're just going to see a revolving situation. We're trying to prevent that.
Right. So you have the meetings with the student nurses, and they kind of update you. Have you seen any particular trends that things that are the most common that they've dealt with?
They are dealing again with the mobility issues. About 64% are mobility issues, and again, people tend, as they get older, to their home tends to get smaller and smaller, and little pathways, and so they're bringing people in that can clean up the pathways, can take care of them in terms of the grab rails, making sure the falls are really the predominance. But we're seeing some really great work on their part, and I think they're seeing tremendous value in it too. So it's a win-win for everybody.
It sounds like it's a win-win. I love that idea, and I would think that this is something that other areas would want to adopt.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see.
I don't know how else you're going to keep up with it.
We have to develop another layer in the system. We can't just have 911. We developed a non-emergency line, but I think we're going to need to develop another layer in the system for people that can call. We still can give them assistance, but it may not come through the fire department.
Sounds good. I think we're out of time, so thank you so much. It's a great program. I love that. If people are interested in finding out more about it, perhaps they want to go to the nursing program or just want more information, I believe there's on your website. I think there's some information on there.
Yes.
And we had a couple pictures too that we pulled off of the group of the students, and it looks like a great relationship with the fire department.
They can contact us at Gresham Fire at any time. We can give them the information.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching this segment of Community Hotline. Another great partnership that's going to help make our community a better place. And don't go away. We have one more segment left of Community Hotline. We'll be right back.
My documentary was more than I ever would have dreamed of doing.
This is a community media station.
It was phenomenal.
Ready, camera, one.
What is it about this place that makes so many different people come together?
Ready camera 2.
Very professional, experienced people.
You can use these industry standard pieces of equipment.
Ready camera 3. Take 3.
You don't have to be rich to do this.
Open people's eyes to something they've never even thought of before.
Cool stuff happens. It becomes this community.
That's going to really change who's telling the stories and who's controlling the messaging.